Melissa sat at the kitchen table, the letter trembling in her hands. It was from her mother, Jane, someone she hadn't spoken to in years. The words on the page were simple, but they hit her like a punch to the gut. "I'm not well. I don't know how much time I have left. Please, come. I need to see you one last time." The anger, the years of silence between them, seemed to vanish in an instant. Despite everything, Melissa felt a pang of guilt. She hadn't realized how much time had passed. She made the decision to go, though it wasn't easy. The car ride was long, each mile filled with doubt. When she finally arrived, the house was eerily quiet, the air heavy with unspoken words. Her mother, now frail and aged, greeted her at the door. Their eyes met, and in that moment, all the years of hurt and misunderstanding seemed to melt away. "Melissa," Jane whispered, her voice trembling, "I didn't think you'd come." She stepped forward, her frailty more pronounced than ever, and extended a trembling hand. "I've been waiting to tell you everything. I didn't know how." Melissa took her mother's hand, the warmth of the gesture calming her. Jane led her to a chair by the window, where she handed her a small weathered envelope. This is for you," Jane said, her voice breaking. "It's time you knew the truth." Melissa's heart skipped a beat as she slowly opened the letter. The words inside would change everything. Melissa sat frozen for a moment, her hands trembling as she held the letter her mother had given her. It was one of the oldest things she'd ever seen. Yellowed with age and fragile with time, the paper crackled under her fingers. As she read through the lines, her heart pounded in her chest, each word heavier than the last. "My dearest Melissa, by the time you read this, I may be gone, or perhaps I will be too frail to say the things I should have said long ago. I owe you more than you can imagine, but most of all, I owe you the truth. There are things about your father, things you never knew, things I kept from you in hopes that the past could be buried. I was wrong. You deserve to know what really happened. Your father was not the man you thought he was. He wasn't the loving, steady man who took us on trips to the lake or played catch with you on Sundays. He was a man who wore a mask, and I allowed myself to be blinded by it for years. I know you saw him as your hero, as a man of integrity and honor, but I can no longer pretend that the truth isn't the opposite. He was a con man, Melissa. He deceived everyone, me, you, his closest friends. He wasn't just involved in small-time scams. He was deeply entrenched in something much darker. He ran with dangerous people, and I was too naive to see it, too in love to accept it. The final straw came when I found out about his dealings. He had gotten involved with a group that was willing to do anything to protect their interests, no matter the cost. I confronted him, but it was too late. He made promises to me, told me he would change, but the lies continued. You don't know this, but the reason we left so suddenly, the reason we moved out of the house that one day, he was running from people who would have killed him if we didn't go. I had to choose between my life and yours, and I chose to protect you. But in doing so, I shielded you from the whole truth. When he left, He promised to come back, but he never did. I never told you the real reason he disappeared. I thought if I told you, you would hate him, and I didn't want to ruin your image of him. But I can't carry this secret any longer. I know this may shatter what's left of your memories of him, but you deserve to know who he really was. Please, understand that I never wanted to hurt you, but in trying to protect you, I kept you in the dark for far too long. Asterisk. Melissa's hands shook as she read the last line. She closed her eyes for a moment, taking in what she had just learned. Her father, a man she had always thought of as steady, strong, and loving, was nothing but a liar. He was someone who had deceived everyone, even her mother, into believing he was someone he wasn't. The betrayal cut deep, not just because of his actions, but because her mother had kept it all hidden. Melissa stood up, the letter now lying heavily on the table. She could feel the weight of the past pressing down on her shoulders. For years, she had wondered why her mother had pushed her away, why there had been so many secrets, so much pain. Now, she understood. Her mother had been protecting her, but it didn't feel like protection anymore. It felt like a lie. The tears she'd been holding back finally broke free, spilling down her face. She wasn't crying for the man her father had been, but for the man she had wanted him to be. She had built him up in her mind, kept his memory intact despite the cracks. Now, those cracks had shattered. But as she sat there, still reeling from the revelation, she realized something. Her mother hadn't just kept this secret to protect herself. She had kept it because, in a way, she had been trying to protect Melissa from the same disillusionment she herself had suffered. She hadn't wanted to take away the last vestige of Melissa's love for her father, and in doing so, she had kept her trapped in a false narrative. Melissa wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. She looked at the photo album her mother had left open on the table, pictures of her father, smiling, holding her as a child, looked back at her. She had thought those moments were real, and in a way they were, but the man in those photos wasn't the same man who had destroyed her family. She closed the album and walked to the window, staring out at the fading light. That night, after a long conversation with her mother, Melissa finally understood the depth of her own grief. It wasn't just the loss of her father. It was the loss of an illusion, the loss of the family she had imagined. But there was a part of her that knew she couldn't hold on to this anger. She couldn't carry the weight of it any more. "Mom," Melissa said softly, her voice filled with resolve, "I'm not sure I can forgive him yet, but I'll try. I want to understand." Her mother nodded, her face pale but grateful. "You don't have to forgive him right away, Melissa. Just knowing you're here, that you're trying, that means everything to me." In the days that followed, Melissa spent time with her mother, trying to heal the wounds that had been so long in the making. They talked, they cried, they began to rebuild a relationship that had been broken by years of silence. But the greatest healing came from within Melissa herself. She didn't need to carry the anger any longer. She didn't need to hold on to the image of her father she had built in her mind. In the end, forgiveness wasn't about excusing the past. It was about releasing the hold it had on her. And just as importantly, it was about forgiving herself for allowing the lies to shape her, for clinging to a version of the truth that never existed. As she left her mother's house, Melissa finally felt a sense of peace. The road ahead was still unclear, but she had taken the first step toward healing. Sometimes finding peace meant letting go of the past, of both forgiving others and learning to forgive yourself. Would you go back to someone who hurt you, even if they asked for one last chance? Let us know in the comments, what would you do?